Today on One, Always There.
Today on One, your daily dose of local affairs and social media commentary.
Today on One, Education Ministry explains revised dates for 2021 academic year. Livestock movement banned after FMD outbreak. Rising COVID-19 cases to impact bed capacity for surgical patients. And Nampol encourages crime prevention initiatives.
The Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, together with its key stakeholders, resolved to extend the planned dates for the resumption of face-to-face learning to allow for all compliance standards for the operation of schools during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry's Executive Director explains that the Ministry has ongoing COVID-19 facility constructions at various schools and is also working on implementing a resilience plan approved by Cabinet last year.
The only certainty we have is the uncertainties that are brought about by COVID-19. And of course, as we always said, if a teacher is ill, if a child is ill, we expect them to please get medical assistance and not to return to school. And that is one manner also that we can reduce. So the face-to-face resumption, we envisage it still to be on the 26th of January for all the learners. However, our school managers, upon them returning to school, they will again work out which teaching mode suit them best in their specific unique context, and they will inform parents whether they will make use of a double shift or whether they will make use of alternate days. I want to make it clear that we have got 195 school days. The possibility is there that we will have to possibly revisit our calendar as time continues, of course, with consultation, and there is then great burden on the parents, on the teachers, on the learners themselves, on all of us to ensure that learners have it and gain and learn and have its specific competencies that may be required for the next grade. Now, in terms of the curriculum, we have a resilience plan that we have worked on, and this plan has been shared with all the regions, and of course we will again issue a circular with reference to the implementation of the resilience plan. Basically, that means also we are making provision for the first 5 to 8 weeks in a particular school, in a particular grade, for catch-up, for revision, for teachers to ensure that all children are on par, are at the same level.
The Ministry will soon release statements on learners' performance for the previous year in terms of the number of learners promoted on their own accord and those that were condoned, further adding that results of grades 11 and 12 will be released in the first week of February.
In terms of the learners' performance of last year, from pre-grade up to grade 10, we will have a specific release to the nation to inform how many learners were promoted on their own accord by their, by their hard work, by being present, by doing the tasks, assignments, and by taking part on the tests. Test series. Secondly, we will also be able to inform the nation how many learners were condoned, and although they came to school, although they did these tests and assignments, they could not pass by their own doing. They were condoned. Then we will be very specific to share also how many learners did not report to school at all, did not write a test, and never handed back an assignment. These learners will be required to repeat, and that information specifically that has been rounded off at a regional level, we have provided them with a specific format to provide us feedback on so that we can make a national summary. So the first 5 to 8 weeks in a school is truly to establish the learners that have been promoted by their own competences and hard work, and then the learners that have been condoned that may require specific attention. That is also the first 5 to 8 weeks where teachers will specifically work on a learning support program to support children who may not have reached all the basic competencies.
Pre-primary to grade 11 learners are now set to resume lessons on the 26th of January, while lessons for advanced subsidiary learners will resume on the 16th of February, and teachers are to report for duty on the 14th of January this year.
I never thought we could get carolers here, but there's carolers in Cape Town, so yeah. Okay, so we got our food after a long queue. This is good. Bye. See you there.
We are going up on the Flying Dutchman.
You guys took forever.
Yeah, it took forever. We are at Cape Point, where you can see the Indian and the Atlantic Ocean meet.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
The Agriculture, Water and Land Reform Ministry has imposed restrictions on the movement of cloven-hoofed animals after they detected the outbreak of the foot and mouth disease in the Oshikoto and Ohangwena regions last week. The Agriculture Ministry says the outbreak was confirmed after a farmer crossed the border from Angola into Namibia with 33 cattle. In response, the ministry has since placed restrictions on the movement of cattle, sheep, goats, pigs and wild animals in areas that have been declared as infected. These are Oshikoto, Ohangwena, Oshana, Omusati and Kunene regions to determine the extent of the outbreak.
All the Namibian farmers in the NCA to please not move the animals that are in the cattle post in Angola at the moment, because they foot and mouth disease outbreak that is confirmed in Angola, just across the border. And we also want to urge all the farmers not to move animals from the area that are infected to other areas. I know farmers are buying cattle now to restock because of they lost their cattle in 2019. Let us put on hold the selling of animals at the moment so that we minimize the spread of the disease, so that we can contain it and eliminate it within a very short time.
Foot and mouth disease is described as a disease of cloven-hoofed animals found in excretions and secretions of infected animals. Signs include salivation, not grazing, limping, reluctance to move, fever, and blisters on the tongue, gum, and on hoofs.
You know, disease outbreak, especially the foot and mouth disease outbreak, has got severe impact to the farmers and also to the economy of the country because of those movement restrictions. At the moment, farmer cannot move the animal to market, let's say for auctions or abattoirs, so that they generate income, and it's a big problem. That's why we we urge all the farmers to take their cattle at their nearest crash pen when the announcement is made by the veterinary authorities for inspection and also for vaccination when we are going to make the announcement. Yes, so that we the infection in the limited area within a very short time.
The Chief Veterinary Officer urged farmers to present their cattle for purposes of disease surveillance to the designated crash pens as per announcement by officials from the Directorate of Veterinary Services. The Kavango East and Kavango West regions continue to battle the disease after an outbreak last year, and control measures are still in place.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Today, I'm joined by a panel of men. As per usual, we men get to talk about what we men really talk about. The program aims to make sure that what is left in the dark definitely comes to light.
I did see my father physically abusing my mother, so I didn't grow up with that I should beat a woman, because I hated what my dad did to my mom.
You know, whether this older woman does it with you, whether she, violates you, it's sort of seen that boosts your ego as a man.
Was that as a young man, I think at 17, 18, I started dating and realized that it's a very fascinating thing to have sex and so forth. So we had lots of what we call friends with benefits.
The bed capacity for COVID-19 patients in need of critical care and for patients waiting in line to receive non-emergency surgery is worrisome, says the Namibian Association of Private Hospitals. Elective surgery is a term used for non-emergency surgery which is medically necessary but can be delayed for at least 24 hours. Valerie Richterman, the nursing manager at Mediclinic Windhoek, said that with the second wave of the coronavirus occurring simultaneously with the lifting of restrictions on elective surgery for patients waiting to be operated on, private hospitals are starting to feel the pressure as the demand on hospital beds is expected to increase.
The pre-testing for the elective cases had been lifted. So in the past, all hospitals had to first test patients to determine their COVID status. That impacted a lot on the standard business of all hospitals, because it's additional costs for medical aid or for private patients. So some patients delayed their surgery. But now with the decision being made that it's on a case-by-case scenario that pre-testing will be done, the elective work is now sort of back in full swing. So there is quite a challenge that the second wave is simultaneously with when the elective work is running also at its peak. So there is a challenge on beds, or demand on our beds.
COVID-19 has exposed vulnerabilities in the healthcare system, and many hospitals were unprepared to deal with the growing backlog of elective surgical cases. Today on One spoke to Bernadette Chipanga, the nursing service manager at the Roman Catholic Private Hospital, and to Haneli Buerta, the general manager at Lady Pohamba Private Hospital, to find out how their facilities are prepared to deal with addressing the second wave of the pandemic and the bed capacity for non-emergency surgical patients.
We do have challenges, especially now that the first wave, we closed the elective cases, and it was like even when the staff was really now not well prepared, all of us were not well prepared, but at least we could handle. But this time, we are having now elective cases in the hospital, doctors are operating, other patients who are ill also want our input, and now COVID hit us again from the other side. The bed capacity is even of the COVID that we allocated the first time. This time is lower, and it makes everything difficult for us. But we are trying to manage where we can.
I think the key challenges is at the moment with the second wave that you have a risk of who's entering the building or coming for elective surgery, because we're still doing elective surgery on the one side, and then we have to manage and treat the COVID-19 positive patients as well. So yes, if I have to mention one challenge is to get the midline between the two.
The Health Ministry recently announced a concern with a high number of healthcare workers testing positive for COVID-19. Esme Boertes, the chairperson of the Namibian Association of Private Hospitals, said that although the first wave has prepared staff much better to deal with the second wave, the public should continue adhering to the COVID-19 regulations by avoiding large gatherings, social distancing, wearing of masks, and frequent hand washing.
In a time of uncertainty, false news, and fear, learn on. While the world scrambles to make new sense, while the experts turn around in circles, trying to find their way back to tomorrow. Learn on. When classrooms become empty cathedrals and the trees start to bear answers, learn on. Learn on. Until every parent is a teacher and every teacher is a mentor. Learn on. Until you cross the boundaries of your mind, until you grow eyes and sprout wings. My friend, learn on. On sidewalks, on the floor, at the neighbors, in the market, in hallways, in churches, under trees, at kitchen tables, in riverbeds. Learning doesn't only happen between four walls. Learning happens in the small space of your enormous, beautiful mind. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn on one. Invite learning in.
The Nampo Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi is cautioning members of the public to refrain from taking the law into their own hands. She outlined ways in which members of the public can assist law enforcement in apprehending criminals with minimal force. Speaking to Today on One, Nampo Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi advised community members to form crime prevention groups such as neighborhood watches to minimize crime within their communities.
You should never underestimate these criminals. Some of them are habitual criminals, and some of them are dangerous criminals. Some of them are always armed. So we're really not encouraging the public to face them alone, but rather to alert the police. There will be perhaps circumstances when you as a member of the public ought to evaluate and assess the situation by even ascertaining who this criminal is or what he or she might possess. But if and when you assess the situation and realize that maybe here you can escape, then please do so and escape, or alert anyone else to come to your rescue. If you have done some defensive tactics, be sure of what you're going to do. Because as I've said, some of these criminals are habitual. They do things without any remorse. And your life is very precious. If a criminal is demanding for your valuables, your phone, or any other property that you have, surrender to it or cooperate with whatever it is that they are demanding for, because really life is more precious than properties that can be replaced.
Following an incident whereby members of the public caught a thief who stole at a local shop, Shikwambi emphasized on how members of the public can meet law enforcement halfway and how such incidents should be handled.
The Criminal Procedure Act, Section 42, allows for a private person to effect an arrest. Now, the private person could be a community, but then such an arrest must be done when a perpetrator is found committing an offense. When an offense has been committed, in your view, you have that mandate to arrest such a perpetrator. Others can also come in and assist. Or perhaps you may also effect an arrest as a private person whenever this perpetrator is known to be fleeing after having committed an offense. And that's how members of the public can assist the police. However, such an arrest, as I have indicated earlier, need to be executed without the use of force. You only need to apply measures in order to subdue or in order to effect the arrest. But then also, it makes provision that whosoever is to effect this arrest, as a private or a community member, should not be below 16 years old and also not exceeding 60 years old. We are talking about a child who cannot effect an arrest. We're talking about elderly who might be even vulnerable, and they should not be involved in effecting this arrest. So we are really encouraging communities. Yes, you may, but there are conditions how you need to go about it.
Shikwambi strongly advised community members not to take the law into their own hands and always call the police force in case of robberies or any crime.
In other leading stories, the Ministry of Mines and Energy has left fuel pump prices unchanged for the month of January. During the month of December 2020, the international price of refined petroleum products increased in comparison to the previous months. The average international price for refined petrol was $51.81 per barrel in December, compared to $44.15 in November 2020, while that of refined diesel was $53.53 per barrel in December, compared to $44.79 in November. During the same period, the exchange rate between the Namibia dollar against the US dollar strengthened. It appreciated on average from 15 Namibia dollars 50 cents in November to 14 Namibia dollars 92 cents in December. This appreciation helped keep under recoveries at an acceptable level. The ministry noted that the ploughing season is upon us and diesel is one of the petroleum products largely used by the agricultural sector, adding that the economy is still limping in the COVID-19 climate, thus it's not government's intention to place an additional burden on consumers. It is for that reason the ministry decided to keep the fuel pump prices for January 2021 unchanged and to finance the recorded under-recoveries from the National Energy Fund. The pump prices in Walvis Bay will remain at 11 Namibia dollars 38 cents per litre for diesel, and the price of petrol will remain at 11 Namibia dollars 35 cents per litre. Fuel pump prices countrywide will also remain unchanged.
Welcome to Comments Corner, your daily dose of local comments from the hottest social media pages. A group of youth from the Ochomuise Rising Stars initiative came to the aid of a destitute resident in their location who has been living in a deplorable condition. They have built the man a new home and handed over necessities with the hopes of restoring his dignity. Ina said, love glues us all together, thus enabling us to see the condition of the other person and act in kindness. Wabatileni said leaders are the ones helping others during difficult times. Julia said, this is a good example for the nation. Magnus said, with all her wealth, no person in Namibia should be suffering and everyone should have a decent home. Adu said the man is still young and should look for employment. Ronali said such generosity from young people and urged them to keep up the great work. Malakia wished that he was there to assist as well. And that is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast every day only on Today and One.
That sound